Welcome, everyone, to Labor Day Kickoff presented by Mercedes-Benz. I'm Harry Douglas, and I'm joined by the one and only Spencer Hall, and we're extremely excited to be here with you today. Now, we have a boatload of college football games this weekend. None more important than where we are right now in Atlanta, Georgia, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Spencer, number 14, Clemson, taking on the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. But I want to kind of go 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
You look at Georgia being able to win back-to-back national championships, high hopes coming into the 2023 season to three-peat. That got derailed right here in this building versus Alabama in the SEC championship game. Missed the college football playoffs. But I want to ask you, for Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, what's the mindset of that football team coming into the season?
I mean, the mindset has to be to work on the little things because they came so close. It's not like they need a dramatic rebuild. It's not like they need to completely reconstruct what they're doing. They're still the most talented team in college football. They've still got Carson Beck. They still have enough talent on defense to field 3 other teams worth of defense. I mean, that's not exaggerating. Like, if you look at the 2 deep and the 3 deep, they could be in another conference of power just with their bench. It's absurd. So they need to work on the little things, right? They need to work on finishing. And that's kind of, if I said, well, what are you going to look for as a problem? You go, okay, 1 or 2 big plays. Sometimes this defense will give up big plays. They play man, right? They play real man defense. They play man, right? Never zone. So they will give up long plays, and they do have some inexperience in the secondary that they're going to be working with. But another thing I'm looking at, more than anything else, finishing in the red zone, because there's a big old piece. Big, handsome hunk of man who's now playing in the pros, Brock Bowers. He ain't here, and he won't be here. So they need to figure out a way to replace his production in the red zone. When we're trying to find something wrong with Georgia, it's like critiquing the Mona Lisa. You go, I don't know. There's a lot of brown. There's a lot of, maybe you could get a different frame. You're nitpicking at this point. These are 2 great teams. Georgia, I believe, is the better one.
And I would say if you're Kirby Smart, you're excited because, number 1, you have the quarterback position sold up. And you look at Carson Beck being able to step in for Stetson Bennett last season, had a wonderful year. Completed over 72% of his passes, 3,900 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. And you say to yourself, okay, we're good at that position, but he has skill position players all over the place, one that you really like a lot.
In terms of people that he's going to be working with, Carson Beck, more than anything else, he's already a great distributor. We talked about this, that the fact that he distributes the ball talent-wise to everybody on a level that I think like somebody who's been playing for like 7 years in the pros does it. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, regardless to me of what they do, they need to find a guy, okay, in all of those skill players. They need to find a guy who's going to be their real red zone threat. I think that's Etienne. I do. And I say this because Etienne is a legitimate he is a legitimate home run threat.
Yeah.
Like, he is more than anyone else. I watched him a lot at Florida. Dude is a one-cut monster, right? Like, when he cuts back across the defense, it's a supernatural read that he's able to make and has the speed to clear it. So, great out of the pass, great at the run. I think he's the guy they're going to lean on.
And I love Etienne a lot, and if the name sounds familiar, it's because his brother Trevor Etienne played for the Clemson Tigers, won a national championship there, and now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I would also want to lean on the Clemson side of things. When you look at the last 3 years, they have struggled to make the college football playoffs, and I think particularly because of the quarterback position. When you look at this team, what are your thoughts for this season as well?
It's weird to focus on the quarterback for Clemson to me because it is necessary, and they do need to improve, okay? And Dabo would say that and has said that. This is a run-based offense. This is an offense that really depends on running the ball. I think people wouldn't expect that with the last name Riley and coming from TCU, but if you look at the magic that they made on the field for the Horned Frogs, it's a spread run attack, and they're really committed to it. So, I think that bringing Klubnik along is super important for the development of the offense, no doubt. But they need to be better up front and more consistent with the run game, period.
I think it's a lot of pressure on Garrett Riley, who is the little brother of Lincoln Riley, head coach for USC. I think they have to be more consistent across the board. I think what hurt them last year a lot was turnovers at the wrong times. And at times where you're scoring touchdowns in the red zone, about to go in. So you're taking away 3 points at minimum, and when you have a maximum of getting 7 points. So they got to take care of the football. I think Garrett Riley, he's going to have to earn his money this season. Now, when you look at Dabo Swinney, and one of the big things that I have with him is that he's not going to go into the transfer portal portal, even though you may have guys leave the program. So my thoughts on Dabo are that you have to win this way to show everyone that you can do it this way. Otherwise, you have to get with the times. What are your thoughts on Dabo, and how do you think he's going to look?
Oh, this is the last man standing for the traditional roster construction, right?
Yep.
That model. The only transfers he's going to be doing are at the airport. That's it. Nobody on that roster. I think they have like 1 or 2 transfers, period. This is the guy who is sticking to the old school model of how to develop and pick players, right? And we're going to see if it works. Honestly, given how well it's worked for them, I know people are going to be like, why don't you do that? You go, well, why would I? Look at how successful they've been. And also, look at a 10-win or an 11-win Clemson team in a playoff model that has 12 teams. All we got to do is what we've been doing, and we'll be in the playoffs, and then anything can happen. So, to me, I understand why people would want him to do that, but he's stubborn, and he's stubborn for a reason, because it's data-based. It's worked. I want to get to another game, if we can.
Talk to me.
I know. Hey, where are you going to be this weekend? Where are you going?
College Station, Texas.
Oh.
Notre Dame versus Texas A&M.
All kinds of shenanigans, new shenanigans between the two teams. We have an incoming first-year coach in Mike Elko. Did great work at Duke, was a defensive coordinator at both Notre Dame and Texas A&M. So this is kind of like the Elko Bowl, right? Either way, he kind of wins reputationally. What are you looking at in terms of what Mike Elko has to do in year 1 at Texas A&M? How big is the job? How big is the mess?
Well, number one, I think it all started when he got the job. And let's go back to when he was at Duke. What they had there was a culture and identity. And now coming to Texas A&M, and all you hear about is what Jimbo Fisher could not do. That's the first thing he wanted to get out of all of his players, everyone that's a part of that staff at Texas A&M. Hey, this is a new regime. We're going to do this our way. Throw away your rearview mirror. We're moving forward. We're going to have tunnel vision. We're going to focus. So I think, getting his players to understand, number one, the word discipline, have balance, be structured. You're going to have that physicality from Mike Elko, and that's what I love about what he brings from a coaching perspective. And he's going against, in this game, a quarterback that he had the last 2 years in Riley Leonard. So he has a slightly advantage in that department.
On the other side of the ball, we have Notre Dame. Always big expectations with Notre Dame, even if they don't make sense. And I guess that's what I want to ask. I know they're going to be good. I know they're going to play good defense. But is it reasonable to have expectations past, hey, they'll win 9 or 10 games, and they'll get a pretty good bowl, and they might get like a low playoff slot? Should we expect more from them, I guess?
I say in 2024, yes, because when you look at the roster top to bottom, they have AP All-Americans across it, especially defensively. You got the transfer quarterback from Duke, Riley Leonard. He's a guy that's a dual threat, need to be a little better passing the football this season, but he's coming off an injury, but you're looking for him to be able to sew things up from that position. I think one area that they struggled with last year offensively was the explosive plays from the wide receiver group, and I think that's something that's going to have to be a big part of their offense in 2024, because you're going to have players stack the box because of the threat that Riley Leonard poses in the run game. So can those wide receivers be great? You have a transfer from Clemson. You have young guys that played last year early on. You're looking for them to be able to step up, and that's mainly what I'm looking for from the offensive side of the ball. But in this particular matchup, I would also say this. You have 2 offensive linemen that left to the NFL. One's with the Los Angeles Chargers. The other one's with the Houston Texans. You had a left tackle that got injured. So you're playing guys against the strength of Texas A&M, which is their defensive line, and you're inexperienced on that side. So how are you going to be able to protect Leonard? How are you going to be able to provide, avenues and run lanes for the running back in the run game? So those are things that I'm looking for in this matchup.
I'm looking for one thing out of this, which is this: hold the ball, A&M, process. I don't need you to score a whole lot. What I need you to do is what Jimbo Fisher's teams could not do, which is dominate time of possession, get that defense in a good spot, do the things that Mike Elko, a defensive guy, is going to want you to do. Hey, we got another game to talk about.
Yeah, we do. We're going to go out to the West Coast Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. And a lot of people have told me in my lifetime, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but not with this one, because it's coming on Sunday. The USC Trojans, who's ranked 23rd in the nation, versus number 13 LSU, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC. Now, it's been over 40 years since these two have matched up. But what's unique about this game is, I would say, When you look at LSU, they had the Heisman Trophy winner last year, Jaden Daniels. He was the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft this past season. When you look at USC, they had Caleb Williams, another Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
He was the number 1 overall pick to the Chicago Bears in the 2024 NFL draft. So when you look at Garrett Nussmeier, and then you also look at Miller Moss, what are your thoughts on those 2 quarterbacks? How are they supposed to make their mark in this game?
That if you're around the house and you're looking for passing yards that you put somewhere and you don't know where the passing yards were, they're in this game. And they're with both of these quarterbacks. They're going to put up massive numbers this year. The question, of course, is will they matter? Will those matter? For LSU, get out of the gate. LSU hasn't won an opener since they won the national title. And they've been terrible to spotty in first games under Brian Kelly. Whether this is an institutional thing, whether LSU's just sleepy and needs a couple of weeks to wake up, I don't know. But come out, show proof of concept. This is no longer, let's see what Brian Kelly does with this team. No, it's your team, dude. Let's see what this looks like. Let's see you debut and come out strong. For USC, we have the same questions we always have, which is this. You're going to throw for a zillion yards, you're going to score a zillion points, and it ain't going to matter. That's not what we want. Yeah.
Defense, where is it?
Exactly. Are you actually, I don't need you to even play complimentary football. We talk about, you need to play complimentary football, okay? Lincoln Riley's idea of complimentary football is that's a really nice touchdown you just made, and I'm going to make another one. And what about the defense? Never mind. So I think one thing you need with Lincoln Riley is you need to at least have a timely defense. You need to at least have the kind of defense that's going to show up on short yardage, right? The times when you need what they call in tennis, you need to break serve, right? What we need to do is, okay, we'll give you the ball, right? Here, go ahead and take it. We'll get you another possession. I'm okay if you win every game 38-31. I just need to know that when we need defense, you'll show up.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Miller Moss. He played my Louisville Cardinals in the bowl game last year, threw for over 370 yards and 6 touchdowns. So really looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do this season, especially he has a dynamic receiver in Zachariah Branch, one of the most electrifying players in college football as a wide receiver, also as a returner. But when you look at both of these teams, LSU and USC, who needs this game most? Is it the head coach of USC?
No.
Or the head coach of LSU?
No. I was answering halfway through. Brian Kelly needs this, okay? Because I know where the heat turns up faster, hotter, and everywhere you go. At USC, the power brokers might be kind of mad, but it's LA, it's chill. Even if you get fired, it's going to be because 15 people are mad, right? At LSU, the dude at the gas station is going to be mad at you. At LSU, the person who's at your kid's school is going to be like, yeah, he's doing well, but we got to talk about your grades, right? The mechanic's going to be mad at you. He needs this more because at one point, the very good, and I stress this, okay? Brian Kelly's been very good at LSU. A lot of people have been very good at LSU. When's it going to get to great? That's what we're looking for here, and they're not patient.
Now, speaking of USC, we all had an opportunity to sit down with one of USC's premier wide receivers who's not a wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, Drake London. Take a look, folks. Time now for our college football podcast van interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Van. I'm joined by former USC wide receiver Drake London. How you been, man?
I'm doing good. How you been?
Good to see you again.
I know.
Different circumstances, but we're here now. And I want to talk to you about your USC Trojans, meaning that you're a USC alum.
Yes, sir. They're
playing this weekend. But first, I want to ask you about the Big Ten. New conference. How do you think that's going to fare out? What is it going to look like for the USC Trojans?
I think it's going to fare out just nice. Basically, we just got to travel the country and go over there and just play our type of ball. The only issue I have is that I foresee if I was a student still would be classroom and homework and stuff like that, being on the flights all the time, having to leave on maybe Wednesday or Thursday, and things like that. But other than that, I think we're going to do just fine.
I would also say when you look at Lincoln Riley, I do a lot of shows on ESPN, and a lot of times I'm on there. A lot of people that feel like this is a very important year for him. Some people feel like he's on the hot seat. You have others that feel a different way. When you look at Lincoln Riley and what he's been able to do, coaching a Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams, having a tiny bit success, but not to a lot of people's liking, what do you think this season means for him?
I think it's a huge season for him. I mean, obviously he's a quarterback guru. He does his thing over there, and he just brings in talent to whatever school he's at, and he's done that at SC. So I think it's a huge year for him, and to put his foot down and make a statement like he knows he can. So I'm very excited for him.
Big shoes to fill for Miller Moss, the quarterback now at USC. Caleb Williams is now with the Chicago Bears, drafted number 1 overall. What do you think Miller Moss has to do week 1 versus LSU in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas?
I think he just has to go out there, play his style of game, just how he did when he came in for the bowl game. He has weapons out there, so go out there, dink and dunk, get in the right field position, make the right plays, and I think he'll just be just fine.
Speaking of weapons, we all know former wide receiver, current wide receiver now for the Atlanta Falcons, that, the wide receiver position is the best group on the field.
Hell yeah.
Zachariah Branch. I think he's one of the most elusive players in college football. What do you think he's going to be able to achieve this season, not just receiving the football, but also in the return game?
I think everybody just only caught a glimpse of what he can do. Once he gets comfortable, he's going to be something even more special. So I can't wait for him to see him out there, and especially in the return game, too. He's just lethal, so I'm really happy for him.
So everybody, if you have not seen him, that boy bad. Trust me. And good to have you, man. Ball out now.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The 2024 season, in one word: chaos, change, everything's new. Everything's new. Everyone's at a new school. Nobody knows where anything is. And the schedule, they have to follow it around like this, which is what you're going to have to do because everything's different. The way we start, the way we finish, and the way we even organize the game itself. Okay, so I want to talk first. What are you looking at in terms of the biggest single change that you go, oh, that's going to matter?
I'll say number one, you look at the Big Ten, and you look at the teams that are now in that conference: UCLA, Oregon, Washington, USC. The travel is going to be extreme for all those schools across the board. But you say to yourself, okay, of all these 4 teams that are now entering the Big Ten, who has an opportunity to actually contend for it and compete for a national championship? That's going to be Oregon. You look at that team that they have right now, Dan Lanning, the job that he's been able to do with that program, that organization has been phenomenal as well. But I look at the other 3 teams and I say, okay, this is a transitional phase. Right? Yeah. They're going to have to ease into the Big Ten. It's not going to be, we're going to come dominate because, number one, going into the Big Ten, physicality is at the forefront of everything.
Yep.
And you have teams like Michigan who's going to pound the rock. You have teams like Iowa that we know is going to play defense. Ohio State, who have one of the most loaded rosters in college football this season. So you have a juggernaut. You're going to have to be able to deal with the times and figure out how can I get this done consistently year in and year out. But it might not happen in year one for the other 3 teams outside of Oregon.
Yeah, and in terms of overall difficulty, it's like a diet. Somebody just took a couple of the cupcakes out, all right? And that's going to add up, all right? You're going to see more teams with 2 losses who might be really, really good, all right? So if you have a problem with the 12-team playoff, and there are legitimate issues, consider this. You don't want a team that has 2 losses and is really, really good to be completely eliminated from the thing. So, advantage is disadvantage. Consider that. I am interested in this when talking about adding depth, okay? The SEC did this as well. The SEC added Oklahoma and Texas. Don't know if you heard. They bring not only depth, okay, not only history, obviously, all these nice intangibles, right? But both teams are easily capable of not only being competitive immediately, but winning the conference, in my opinion.
Well, I would say this about Texas. Texas, I feel the same way about them like I feel like Oregon going into the Big Ten. They have an opportunity to come into the SEC and make their mark be heard right now. Steve Sarkisian, we know he's a disciple of Nick Saban. He's no longer in the SEC. You have Kirby Smart sitting at the top of the hill. But Steve Sarkisian this season can actually come in and win it. Now, they lost some running backs, and that's really going to hurt them. C.J. Baxter is a guy that they're really going to count on. But they lost 3 receivers and a tight end, but they gained those 3 guys back. You got Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden, I think Mitchell is the 3rd receiver. They've been able to reload at that department defensively. You had a lot of guys that left for the NFL draft, but you still have guys on that side of the ball that played an integral role in what they were able to accomplish a season ago. So I'm looking forward to, Ethan Burke and Anthony Hill, those guys to be able to step up and make a big difference on that defense for Texas. When I look at Oklahoma, you look at their schedule.
Yeah.
And coming into the SEC in year one, their schedule is daunting. So I think at the end of the day, the schedule is what's going to hurt Oklahoma more so than anything else.
Yeah, Florida doesn't want to hear that, by the way. Poor you.
Poor Florida.
Poor you with the schedule.
We definitely pray for them.
Another thing, you talk about wild conferences, okay? We not only have one, I think we have 2 major conferences that you and I combined in discussing this, no clue. No clue. Good teams? Yes. Predictable teams? Absolutely not. The ACC and the Big 12, both of them zoos. Just anarchy, chaos. Like, if I had to put you, on the spot, $1,000, right? I'll pay you $1,000 to tell me who's going to win the ACC. You couldn't do it, right?
Right now, I do not know. And over in, where we just came from in Dublin, Ireland, where we seen the first upset of the year.
Oh, sure thing.
Number 10 Florida State lost to
yeah.
Georgia Tech. So when I'm looking at that conference and you have a Miami who now has a Cam Ward, Mario Cristobal, he has to step up.
Yeah.
Florida State, they're not out of it. They still have an opportunity to get things together and come back and win this conference at some point during this season. You look at Louisville, you look at NC State, you have Clemson. You have a lot of teams that can compete for this conference right now. Now, when you move to the Big 12, it's the same way.
Yeah.
Now, I can pick Utah. I'm picking Utah to win that conference.
Sure.
But you can look at Kansas State. You can look at Oklahoma State. There's across the board, Kansas. There's so many teams that can compete for the Big 12 to the point to where I really don't know. I'm probably 80% sure that Utah's going to be that team, but that other 20, I'm up in the air.
It's very, very good of you to bet on 12th year senior Cam Rising, who I swear has been in college football for like 28 years, to win that conference. I think that's as solid and as intelligent a pick as someone can make. Predictable and intelligent. None of that describes how the Big 12 has played out, especially because I think all of those teams play to their strengths so well. All of them do something a little bit different. All of them are very good at finding off-cut talent, a 2-star who's a 3-star, a 3-star they built to a 4-star, right? I'm not just talking about Kansas State. I'm mostly talking about Kansas State. Kansas State's so good at that, and they always have been. But a fascinating conference, just I
would say this, another team that I really like is Arizona.
Yeah.
They have a receiver that's going to go probably top 15 pick in the draft in Teteroa McMillan.
Yeah.
Young man, size, speed, the ability to sink his hips, make the tough catches, contested catches, one hand, two hand, doesn't matter. So really looking forward to Arizona and how they're going to progress this season as well.
Yeah. The playoff. Let's end with the playoff.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm going to do this. We're going to play a little bit of a game.
Let's do it.
I don't want to make it easy. You're an expert. You know your stuff. I would be insulting you if I didn't do this. We could just say who we thought, they're going to win. They're definitely going to come out of the playoff. Okay, I'm going to take 2 teams off, and you're going to take 2 teams off of my list. Okay? Too easy. I'm going to take Ohio State and Georgia off of his because you're better than that.
Yep.
You're better than that.
I'm going to go with Missouri.
Ooh.
Missouri's a team that I'm high on. They had a game last night, and you see the extreme talent. Brady Cook, they're bringing him back. And then Luther Burden III, one of the most electrifying players in college football. If they can make up for what they lost defensively, and I think their schedule is very favorable, they can make some noise in the SEC. That's a team that I have.
Okay.
Now, for you, I'm going to take off Texas, and I'm going to take off Oregon.
You got Oregon. That was what I was reaching for that. If I was going to go with somebody who could go very deep in the playoff and might surprise everybody with how good they were going to be in spite of preseason projections, it's not a smart pick, but spiritually you'll see where I'm going here.
Uh-oh.
You ready?
Here we go.
Yeah, Auburn. Auburn. Yeah, you know why? Because that roster is a lot better. And every single Auburn team I've ever seen be better historically has come out of nowhere. Come out of like a 5-7 or 8-4. It's like, yeah, they're fine. They're good, right? And then they're good for no reason. So I'm going to go completely irrational wild card pick to be in the playoff and make some noise. I'll take Auburn, if only because I don't know too many other people who would make that pick.
Can I throw another one out there?
Please, yeah.
I'm going to go Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin.
Ooh.
The clock's ticking, right? It's about time for Lane Kiffin. And what he's understood now is that you just can't play offensive football and think you're going to win a national championship. So they loaded up in the transfer portal. They got defensive guys. They got Juice Wells, wide receiver from South Carolina. I'm really looking forward to Jackson Dart at the quarterback position, leading Ole Miss to a college football playoffs.
I love that you made that pick. I also love Jackson Dart in that offense. I'll go with it.
Dare to dream.
Got a chance to do something special, man.
The audacity to dream comes to us all. I've dared to dream a million dreams, but only need to act upon one.
You are built for moments just like this.
All you want is an opportunity to win.
So I set fire to the old me and stepped into my light. When they ask, how dare you, the audacity, I ask, how dare you not? Who am I who dares to dream?
We are living in the moment of history.
A dream so pure that all are welcome and seen, where no one ever asks, who are you who dares to dream?
Time now for Road to the Championship, presented by Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And Spencer, we just talked about a few teams that we felt like outside of the norm, right?
Yeah.
Outside of the big dogs that have an opportunity to contend this season and really lead their organization to a championship. That's what you play for. Let's get into the players that can actually lead their teams that you're looking forward to seeing.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Dillon Gabriel and what he can do at Oregon. That was a great system for Bo Nix, completely remade his career out there. Dillon Gabriel not quite in the same situation, but definitely transferring in with high expectations, but also the ability to meet those. So he is, to me, the thing that everything that the Ducks want to do pivot around. So let's see what he does. I mean, he's excellent. He does need to push because there's a lot on the quarterback position in that offense.
What I would say, I love Dillon Gabriel because he fits everything that Oregon wants to do on offense.
Yeah.
When you look at last year when he was at Oklahoma, completed 69% of his passes, also rushed for 12 touchdowns. He is a red zone threat. He can really pose a threat to the defense, but he's going to get the ball out quick. I like the weapons that he has.
Yeah.
He's not only a guy that can lead his team, he's also a guy that can win the Heisman Trophy this year. I'm going to go with someone who's very, very dynamic, hasn't stepped on a football field yet. That means he is a true freshman. I'm going with Jeremiah Smith at the wide receiver position for the Ohio State Buckeyes. The way everyone is raving about this young man, I can't wait to see him play in person, not just on TV, but when we actually do a game up there in person, because he has the athleticism, he has the speed, he has the route running ability, he has the catch radius. I just, when I look at this physical specimen, and everyone talk about, Marvin Harrison Jr. and what he was able to do, his duration of being at Ohio State, they're saying that Jeremiah Smith could be the best receiver to ever come out of Ohio State. That's why I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Every single one of his highlights from spring practice, violence. Violence. You know who chose violence every day in practice? Jeremiah Smith, a freak. He's going to be a marvel.
This has been fun, Spencer. Thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to the college football weekend, also the season. Thank you for watching Labor Day Kickoff, presented by Mercedes-Benz.